Hello, 8th graders. We are starting our new unit on tectonics, and it kind of goes, well, it very much goes right along with all of our study of geology and then our brief study of Earth's history. I'm going to post this whole iBook under materials on the Google Classroom. So you have access to it, but I'm no longer going to have you search around for it and search through chapters to get to a video to answer some questions, okay? If there are questions at the end of a chapter, I'm just going to go ahead and post that as your assignment with the video right there, okay? So you don't have to be searching for it. So when you see this Tectonics iBook posted under materials, that is just a resource for you, okay? I'll be lecturing through all of this, so you'll see all of these chapters in my lectures. This is just for you to look back if you want to read deeper into it or if you needed to help understanding something, all right? So the book has 10 chapters. Some of these we're going to spend more time on than others, like this first one, History of the Earth. I have included this in the book because I wrote this 4 years ago, and we were not in the situation we are in now. And so we've already covered this part. I'm going to skip over this chapter. This chapter is where we would study the geologic time scale and do what we've already done, okay? So I'm starting here on chapter 2, Earth's layers. All right, so we will scan up to here, Earth's layers. Now you guys have, in your elementary days, you likely learned about 3 layers of the Earth, right? The crust, the mantle, and the core. And we've all seen diagrams of the Earth like this. Kind of looks like an everlasting gobstopper. Or I have a model of this right here. These little blue things are just where this used to pop together before students in my life started to play silent ball with it. And now it is in pieces. So it looks like a big earthquake happened to it. But the part I wanted to show you was that we have this inner core, we have an outer core, then the bulk of the volume of Earth is in the mantle. Okay, so that's that semi-solid kind of squishy rock. That's what feeds our volcanoes, okay? And then the blue on the outside would be our crust, okay? We are going to dig a little bit deeper into that this year. You're going to learn a couple new terms because in order to talk about tectonic plates, we have to talk about something called the lithosphere and the asthenosphere. And the reason being is that tectonic plates, which are the plates that the whole Earth is broken up into, it's like taking a peanut M&M and rolling it on the table and breaking that candy shell, you're going to get all of these little puzzle pieces, right? Tectonic plates are the same way. It's all of the puzzle pieces that make up the Earth. And those plates are not just made of crust. They are all of the crust and part of the upper mantle right here. And that whole piece moves around on the rest of the mantle, all right? So a tectonic plate is made up of the crust and part of the upper mantle, okay? And that collectively is called the lithosphere, L-I-T-H, lithosphere. And that kind of rigid piece floats around on top of the squishier lower mantle, which is known as the asthenosphere. The asthenosphere. And we'll talk about those two words as we move on. Okay, it says if we could open up the Earth, we'd see the inner core at the center, then the outer core, the mantle in the middle, and the crust on the outside. But with our study, we need to be talking about the lithosphere, which are those pieces of tectonic plates, and that's all of the crust and part of the upper mantle. And that is riding along on top of the ooey gooey asthenosphere, okay? So it's like the chocolate candy coating of the M&M being pushed around on top of the melty chocolate, okay? Again, you guys have already learned these three terms, crust, mantle, and core. The crust is less than 1% of Earth's mass. All right, so it's just a teeny tiny little bit, and we've got two different kinds of crust. We have oceanic crust and we have continental crust. Okay, so it is important to note that the crust goes deeper than the deepest part of the ocean. Okay, the crust is not just land. All right, there's oceanic crust right here on the blue, and there's continental crust right here on the green. All right, and all of that doesn't even go as far down as the crust goes. Okay, so the ocean is included in the crust. It's just known as a different type. It's oceanic crust. Then we have the mantle, which is hot and semi-solid, kind of squishy, and that makes up the bulk of Earth's mass, 68%. And then the core, which is mostly iron metal, that makes up 31%. All right, so if we look at it a little bit of a different way, we can see these layers here. We can see oceanic crust, we can see continental crust, okay? Then we can also see the mantle right here, but this would be the asthenosphere right here. The asthenosphere is number 5, okay? And then we would see the rest of the mantle and then the inner and outer core. All right, if we go to this link right here, we can look at how big these things are. Okay, so the crust itself, the oceanic and continental crust, is anywhere from 0 to 45 kilometers deep. Okay, so it isn't like a shell that is the same depth all along. It is thin in some areas and thicker in others, and thin in some areas and thicker in others. All right. Then we have the mantle. Again, this is that really big part, 45 to 2,900 kilometers thick. Really, really thick. And then we have our core, which is 2,900 to 6,371 kilometers. Okay, and that is just deep right here. That's just the radius of it. If we go to this part, it divides it up further, and this is what we're going to be concentrating on. Okay, so we have our inner core here, we've got our outer core here, and then when we break the mantle and crust up into the way that we need to study tectonics, we have the lithosphere, and again, that's all of the crust and part of the upper mantle. And that is floating around on top of kind of an ooey gooey layer that we know as the asthenosphere. Okay, so it's deformable, it's kind of squishy, and that is anywhere from 100 to 660 kilometers down. The rest of the mantle, then, that isn't part of the asthenosphere, is known as the mesosphere. Meso meaning middle. All right, so not all of the mantle is liquidy or semi-solid. Some of it is solid, and then there's a squishy part on top. And that squishy part on top is what we are really going to be kind of focusing in on. We're focusing in on these two big terms, lithosphere and asthenosphere. All righty. Trying to figure out how to go back here. Back. Oh. It went all the way back. Sorry about that. Okay. We also have other parts of the Earth. And I think because we're talking about Earth's layers, I wanted to mention them here. We are going to talk about all of these, but in different units. Okay, so atmo, the root of the word atmosphere is atmo, and that is gas. That means gas. So it's a thin layer of gases that surround the Earth. Okay, so we've got Earth here, and there's like an orb that goes all around it. And that's a mixture of gases. It's not just oxygen. Down here at our layer of the atmosphere, which we'll learn about all the layers. But where we live, yes, it is very oxygen rich here. But as you go up in the atmosphere, that oxygen decreases a little bit. And so actually our most abundant gas in the whole atmosphere is not oxygen like many people think. It is nitrogen. And then we have the hydrosphere, and that plays into the atmosphere as well. And these two things we'll be talking about a lot when we study meteorology. Hydrosphere would be all of the water on Earth, on and in Earth. So oceans, lakes, rivers, streams, groundwater, water vapor, that's in the atmosphere. So that kind of includes, it kind of ties in with the atmosphere here. The biosphere is what you learned mostly about when you were in 7th grade science, and you learn again when you are in 10th grade biology, is all the living stuff in and on Earth. And then the lithosphere, which we are studying here right now, and that's the solid rock part of Earth, including mountains, valleys, continents, and all of the rock beneath the ocean as well, okay? And here is a very detailed picture of all of those things. So the atmosphere is all the air, biosphere is living things, the hydrosphere, and then the rocky part that we are going to be studying, the lithosphere. All right, I am going to I'm going to link this video to this assignment, okay, and have you take a look at that little video clip as well. That way you don't have to search through the chapter if you wanted to watch it again. I'll just link that right to our assignment today. All right, so now that you've watched the lecture, I'll have you watch the video, the little YouTube video that is called Big Idea Number 3, Earth Systems Interact, and then answer the question that I have posted on the Google Classroom about this lecture. All right, I'll talk to you soon.